Hey, this is Financial Literacy Lecture Section 7.7. We're on page 308 in the book. This section does have a little more vocabulary than average, but the math is very easy in this section. So if you want to pause the video and go ahead and write this down, you can. I'm going to talk through it for just a minute. This is about mutual funds. So a mutual fund is a fund of many stocks. It's not just a single stock like Walmart or Amazon. It's a fund that contains a lot of stocks of a lot of different companies. And they're often categorized by specific business sectors or investment goals. They don't have to be that way, but you could buy mutual funds that only contain stocks of companies that are aggressively growing, or that only contain companies that are really large companies like Walmart or Google, right? International companies. I have some mutual funds that only contain international companies. Technology companies. You could buy a mutual fund that just has Netflix and Google and IBM and Microsoft and those kind of technology companies. You could buy in the medical sector, so just maybe pharmaceuticals and maybe companies that run hospitals. Precious metals, gold, silver, platinum. You can buy mutual funds that only contain those. Corporate bonds, so we talked about bonds earlier, so you could buy a mutual fund that just contains those, or government bonds. And I have mutual funds that do both of those as well myself, and I have some that just contain large companies. All right, so go ahead and pause the video and finish that up, and we will continue on. Okay, section 7.7.1 is total investment in mutual funds. Okay, so a little bit of vocabulary here. First, the net asset value. All right, we're going to call that NAV. That is the total assets divided by the number of shares. So you want to think of this as if you were dealing with stocks, think of as price per share. If it were a stock, that'd be a way to think about net asset value. A no-load fund, and these are the only kind of funds that I buy, that's a mutual fund sold with no commission. And then a load fund might be, since you know what a no-load fund is, you could probably guess what a load fund is. A load fund is a fund sold with a commission fee. Added to the net asset value. Okay, so if you were going to get the total investment for a no-load fund, that's going to be the number of shares. So again, the math in this chapter, this section is super easy. times the net asset value, which is basically the price per share. And then the total investment for a load fund is going to be the number of shares times the offer price. The offer price includes the commission. Okay, pause the video so that you can finish writing all that down, unless you kept up with me. And let's work some example problems so it won't take too long to get through all of that. Okay, these first two example problems, we're still in 7.7.1. So this is example A on page 310. All right, so let's see if I can pull that into view. It says Shizu Wakichi purchased 400 shares of a no-load Mellon Technology Fund at its net asset value of $17.35. What was her total investment in the fund? Well, there's nothing to this. Just multiply the number of shares by the net asset value. So 400 shares. The net asset value is $17.35. So put a lot of these on the test, right? So that's just going to be $69.40. Right, let's look at example B. Okay, that example says Nicholas Davila bought 1,000 shares of a load fund, Allied Industries Fund, at its offering price of $26.74. What was the total investment of the fund? So this is a load fund, but they didn't make you subtract out or add in the commission of it or anything. So it's just simple multiplication. It would be 1,000 shares times the offer price of $26.74. So that's 26,740 smackers. All right, not too bad so far, I hope. Let's look at 7.7.2, a very short section, so I think I can fit it in here. Commissions. Something you should be very interested in, especially if you're a salesperson. So the commission on a mutual fund is equal to the offer price minus the net asset value. Right? Has that been driving anyone crazy, that extra little space there? All right. Offer price minus the net asset value. The commission rate you get that by taking the commission, dividing it by the offer price, times 100. All right, so it just tells you, it's going to tell you, how much that broker is getting of your investment. So let's look at example C on page 310. It's not a very long one, or I wouldn't be able to fit it down here, would I? So example C says Rosser Midcap Fund has a net asset value of $9.45, offer price of $9.87. What's the rate of commission to the nearest 0.1%? So the commission is the offer price minus the net asset value. So that's $9.87 minus $9.45. All right, so it'd be $9.87 minus $9.45 divided by the offer price, which is $9.87, the bigger of the two, and then times 100. So the broker, the person selling the mutual funds, is making 4.3% on the sale. Let me tell you, that's a lot. That's why I buy no-load funds. I don't want anybody taking that much profit away from me. All right, that's 7.7.2. Pause the video if you need to. All right, let's look at 7.7.3. This section is called profit and loss. All right, certainly can take a loss. The proceeds of mutual funds are just like proceeds of a stock. You just take the number of shares, and instead of the multiplying by the share price, you multiply by the net asset value, but that's really the same thing as a share price. And then the profit is equal to the proceeds minus the original investment. So if it's negative, it's a loss. All right, so negative equal loss. All right, let's look at example E on page 311. All right, bringing that into view, we have, upon graduation, Todd redeemed 300 shares of a mutual fund at $17.22. His total investment in the shares was $43.91.10. What was his profit or loss? So let's get the proceeds. That's going to be the 300 shares that he sold times the net asset value that he sold them at, which was $17.22. All right, you put that in the old calculator, and you should get, I didn't put what? I have to multiply that out real quick. 300 times 17.22, that's 51.66. So his profit or loss is going to be the proceeds, 51.66, minus the original investment, which is 43.91.10. So he did make a profit. Good for him. 774.90. All right, let's see if I can squeeze in example F. This is the last problem of this lecture. I'm sure you are glad of that. All right. Ping Lin Xing redeemed his 500 shares of Madison Capital Fund for $39.45 a share. His total investment was $19,922.25. What was his profit or loss? Okay, let me put all this, instead of doing it in two lines, we'll put it all in one line. So the proceeds are 500 shares, and when he sold them, he got $39.45 a share. Right, that's the proceeds. The investment was $19,922.25. So this would be the proceeds. This would be his original investment. All right, so plug that into the old calculator and you will get negative 197.25. So is that a profit or a loss? Well, it's negative, so it is a loss. Hey, that happens sometimes. I've lost money on investments as well. Sometimes you just need to redeem your investment and move on to something else. All right, so pause the video if you need to, and then I will write down your homework for section 7.7. All right, the homework is page 312. You need to do 7 through 13 odd, 14 through 17, all of those, 19, 21, and 23 through 27, all of those. That's a total of 15. All right. So that does it for section 7.7. I will talk to you in section 7.8.